Welcome back, folks. Welcome back, family. Hope you guys are doing very well today. If you are stopping by the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing to the channel. And while you're at it, go ahead and smash that like button. I really would appreciate that. Now, we've been talking about this for a little while, but we are seeing the writing on the wall, folks. We are starting to see this pattern emerge. And there's an economic shift here. Now, this shift started years ago, actually, but the shift has actually begun to accelerate in the past 24 months. About 24 months, we've been seeing this economic pattern begin to emerge a little bit faster. And it's only been exacerbated by the Fed Chair Jerome Powell's Federal Reserve's decisions to tamper with interest rates, attempting to bring down the cost of inflation. Now, unfortunately, this pattern that we're seeing, it's starting to affect the lower income Americans first. Everyone will be affected, but the low income Americans will be hit first. And we're starting to see this already. And there's a story I want to share with you guys because this is a scary pattern. This is a very concerning pattern. If you are on fixed income, it's even worse. And I'm going to explain why later in this video. And I want you to let me know if you find yourself in a similar situation. And if you don't, maybe you know someone else who is in a similar situation, and you may want to share this video with them so that they can prepare for what's coming down the pipeline. Fixed income could be anything from your salary worker, and your salary, it is what it is. I don't know, maybe you make $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year. If you're a salary worker, you're fixed income. If you're a salary worker without commission, now you're not fixed income because your commission can alter the amount of money that you can earn. Now, if you're Social Security and all your income is coming from Social Security, meaning you don't have investment portfolio income, maybe you don't have a small business, an online business, you don't have any passive income streams, then you're fixed income. Social Security, SSI, SSDI, railroad retirement beneficiaries. If that's your only income source and that income doesn't change, it's pretty much the same year after year, unless you got a COLA increase. Many Social Security recipients are actually all Social Security recipients are going to get a COLA increase going into 2023. But aside from that, the income's not going to change. Now, obviously, there are methods, there are strategies you can implement to increase your income, which we talk about over in the Patreon community. A lot of you guys are already joined in, and it's a smart move. It's like, okay, in this day and age, we need to figure out how to increase our incomes. But if you don't know how, then, you could potentially be wiped out. Now, a lot of you guys are learning how to do these things over in the Patreon group. I'll leave a link for the Patreon group in the description down below. But here's the thing, guys. We're seeing this pattern, this problem emerge, and it's affecting Americans. And the Fed's not just targeting low income. It's just that the low income is the most vulnerable. So the Fed's decisions is definitely affecting Americans with little to no assets first. Okay. So what we are seeing here are increased mortgage payments. We are seeing increased cost to carry debt. But more importantly, we're now starting to see families' homes being threatened. And you might be wondering, well, what do you mean? Maybe I'm renting. Maybe my home is paid off. If my home is paid off, what do I have to worry about? Well, you have a lot less to worry about than those who have a rent payment. You have a lot less to worry about than those who have a mortgage payment, but there are always carrying costs. Now, if you don't have a way to generate passive income that exceeds your expenses, then you're always going to have to remain on this rat wheel. And again, we're seeing this evolution of our economy affect the lower income Americans first. We're going to see it with layoffs. And when the layoffs hit, we're going to see lower income earners affected first. We've seen it in retail. And as a matter of fact, I worked retail for a long time. Some of my first jobs were retail. So I already know how the game goes, but it's about to get stepped up a notch. For example, When I was working retail, I remember every year we would have, going into the fourth quarter, all of these different retail stores, Best Buy, Home Depot, Target, who else? Costco. Basically, all these retail stores would extend their hours. And in order to extend those hours, those employees had to work more. Well, what happened come January? Well, come January, those employees saw a drastic decline in the amount of hours that were available for them to work. And of course, this negatively affected their paychecks. And so for several months, employees were, they were seeing bigger paychecks through increased hours in these retail stores. But the moment January rolled around, hours got cut. Sad part about it here now is we're going to see more and more of that. In fact, retailers were actually cutting hours and laying people off long before January. Retailers lost confidence in the American consumer probably October, November. We've heard FedEx. I mean, you got big companies like Amazon. You guys seen Amazon stock. You guys know how big of a company Amazon is. Multi-billion-dollar company. Jeff Bezos, former founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, was warning us. He warned us. He said, hey, Americans don't need to be wasting money on items that they don't need to purchase. Now, this is coming from a person who profits off of the American consumer, purchasing goods from Amazon. So if the founder of Amazon's warning us to start saving money, start investing money, and prepare, we had to have known that something big was coming down the pipeline. Now, I got some big news that I want to share with you guys. And I want you guys to let me know if you've ever heard of companies like BlackRock. These are investment companies, investment firms. BlackRock, you got, many different hedge fund companies. There's different REITs, real estate investment trusts. Well, here's the thing, folks. We're starting to see this pattern emerge more and more. And, unfortunately, some families are not in a very good position to cope with this as it's coming down the pipeline. Now, I'm going to share a story with you. And this story it affects one particular family, but this story is going to affect many, many more families coming down the pipeline. You guys can let me know if you resonate with the situation, if you've heard of anything like this, or if you know anyone personally who is in a similar situation where they could end up being vulnerable to this circumstance. So basically it goes like this. So when Sarah Clement moved to the Golden Hills mobile home park 2 years ago, she felt like she had won the lottery. After years of squeezing into one-bedroom apartments with her 7-year-old son, finally settling down into his own bedroom, his toys splayed out in the yard just at the edge of the park. Miss Clement loved the friendliness of the neighbors and getting to, watch the sunrise and whatnot over the foothills of the Rocky Mountains to the west. And living there was affordable for her salary as an athletic trainer. After purchasing the manufactured home, the rent for the plot that it sits on was $625 a month. So only $625 a month. Very, very comfortable for her to afford this. But just 6 months after she moved in, the plot of land and all of the stability and the comfort that came with it seemed suddenly ripped out from under her. The Colorado couple that owned the park for years. So this is a mobile home park that was owned by just, individual entrepreneur real estate investors. I believe it was a married couple. So the Colorado couple that owned this mobile home park for years had put it up for sale. Miss Clement and her neighbors knew that if the park was ever taken over by one of the big manufactured home operators who were buying up parks all over the state, then of course the rents would dramatically increase. So this was a major concern. Now, I think you guys can kind of see where this story is probably going. If you live on first of all, if you are a renter, you're subject to however much the entrepreneur real estate investor decided to increase rents by. And this is nothing new. But the simple fact of the matter is that we're starting to see bigger concerns starting to surface. Now, we've already talked about some of the concerns with Social Security and how there's this big push for major Social Security reform. The likes of Bernie Sanders are pushing for this. Social Security is slated to essentially become insolvent if some major changes don't take place. But in addition to Social Security, SSI, and SSDI being affected, we are also seeing hedge funds. We're also seeing big investment firms. We're seeing these big brokerage companies that manage pension funds searching for higher yields and higher returns on their investments. They need to make sure that they can continue to pay the paychecks out to these pension recipients. And so what's happening is some of these investment firms are purchasing real estate, and some of this real estate ends up being mobile home parks. And so what they're doing is they're coming in and they're purchasing up these mobile home parks. And when they do this, they're looking to turn a profit. So generally speaking, and this is where a lot of people are finding themselves, oh my God, I was comfortable, I was making ends meet. Then inflation hit, the Fed started increasing interest rates. And on top of that, my living expenses drastically increased because the land that my property sits on is suddenly going up. Now, again, if this is the first time you've ever heard anything like this, I'm glad I'm sharing this information with you because I don't want you to get blindsided. But at the same time, you guys need to know what's coming down the pipeline. And these pensions, they need to generate a certain amount of return in order to be profitable and in order to be able to make sure that those who are receiving a pension continue to receive a check in the mail. She said, this is what Ms. Clemens said. She said it was like this deflating feeling of, oh my God, I thought we had it. I thought this was where our roots were going to be. So she thought she was going to be able to live here for a long period of time. Now, across the country, manufactured home parks, housing parks, like, residents like Ms. Clement, they're finding their homes right at the center of this. They're being targeted because some of these pension funds, some of these hedge funds, some of these investment brokerages and investors, they're looking for this return and they're seeing great opportunities, but they're not, I don't know if they, ultimately the decisions that they're making is affecting those who live there. And so what's happening is that in this particular case, this is threatening the stability of one of the nation's few sources of affordable housing. Now, we've already seen the impact that the Fed has made on the housing market. Housing's not more affordable. It's less affordable now. You go out there and try to buy a house right now. You've got real estate prices that have appreciated at a rate that we've not seen before, not at this rate. Real estate has appreciated for the last 100 years and more, probably since the beginning of time. Real estate has appreciated, but the rate that real estate has appreciated, whether it's artificially or not, over the last 24 months is unprecedented. And then you couple that with the fact that the Fed has raised interest rates and housing prices haven't fallen to the extent that many have predicted. So this is making the cost of ownership, the cost to acquire assets like real estate, more and more expensive. Interest rates have gone from sub 3% less than 15 months ago to over 6%, borderline 7% mortgage rates for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, even with good credit. So, but here's the scary part, guys. So basically, residents of this particular neighborhood, this mobile home park, they quickly got organized and they started forming this cooperative to offer to buy out the park themselves. And so this is why Americans with little to no assets are really getting screwed here, right? And, this is, but at the same time, I'm very happy to see how many people are joining the Patreon community. They're joining our Patreon family. The link is in the description down below, where we are literally building this community of like-minded individuals who are trying to acquire assets so that they don't get wiped out. They're creating they're starting businesses for the first time. They're increasing their incomes. And this is the solution here, increasing the incomes so that you don't get wiped out by this economic shift, by this huge great reset that's coming down the pipeline. So residents of Golden Hill County, they got organized. They came together. They formed this cooperative to offer to buy this mobile home park themselves. And they're on track. They were on track to obtain financing from the ROC USA Capital, which supports resident-owned communities across the country. So basically, the residents in the community that own the mobile home or modular homes, whatever you want to call them, they own the homes, but they didn't own the land that they sat on. And this is where their security was at risk. So for months, they were full of hope. The 3-block stretch of beige single and double wide homes, they filled the neighbors' mailboxes with flyers and newsletters, and even the local politicians got behind them and said, the city voted to zone the park for manufactured home use only. But unfortunately, in July, the homeowners, in July, the owners of the land, because remember, the land that the mobile home parks were sitting on were owned by a couple. Well, ultimately, the owners rejected the initial offer from the mobile home owners. They rejected the offer, and they accepted a higher one just a few months later and ended up selling the park to Harmony Communities, which is a manufactured home operator with 5,000 residents in 33 parks across the Western United States. The company quickly proved the Golden Hills residents' fears correct. And you know what happened next? I don't even know if you guys are ready for this one. The Golden Hills residents faced a 50% rent increase, issuing a 12-page single-space list of new park rules. So not only, this is a slap on the face twice. Not only did their rent increase by 50%, you just think about your own situation. Put yourself in their shoes. I don't know how much you pay for rent, but add 50% to it. Suddenly, I don't know if you pay $1,000 a month for rent, but if you do, your $1,000 per month rent would jump up to $1,500. If you're paying $2,000 a month, your rent automatically went up to $3,000 a month, right? Now, the name of the game for these real estate entrepreneur investors is to get the most return for their investment. And by doing that, they have to raise their income. They need to raise their revenues, drive up revenues, increase their profit margin in order to achieve these goals. Well, they say crap rolls downhill, folks, right? Well, this is what we're seeing here. The lower income folks are at the bottom of the hill. So as the crap rolls down, guess who's getting squashed? Now, that ain't even the worst of it. They went on to say that not only did they increase the rent by 50%, they issued a 12-page single-space list of new park rules. 12 pages of new rules. So just think about it. If you live in a neighborhood where there's a HOA, then there's a lot of rules you got to comply by. And if the HOA wants to give you a hard time, they can literally just go through this list and nitpick and figure out what you're not in compliance with. Oh, your grass is too high by this much. Oh, your shrubs are a little bit too tall. Oh, you went and painted you painted your siding. Oh, well, we didn't approve that color, so you can't do that. Now you need to change that color or pay this fine. The fine might be $500. The fine might be $1,500. Who knows? All sorts of different things. Oh, you can't have a trampoline in the backyard that we can see from the street. You can't do this. You can't do that. Oh, you replaced your windows. We didn't approve that first. Oh, you changed the front door on your home. Yeah, you didn't get approval for that. Here's a fine, or change the door back. Right. So yeah, okay. So that's just tip of the iceberg, right? So then just a month after purchasing the park, the company offered to sell it to the residents at an even higher price than the company had just paid for it. So this investment, this real estate investment company bought the park originally from the original owners, raised the rates on the rent by 50%. Then they offered to sell the property. They offered to sell the park back to the residents that lived there for even higher than what they bought it for. So now, facing both the rent increases and the cost of being basically forced to change their homes in order to comply with the park's new rules, the residents were rushing to search for other housing, but finding very, very few, if any, options in their particular area, which just so happened to be right outside of Denver. At an apartment complex up just one road up the street, a 1-bedroom apartment started at $2,400 a month, almost $1,000 more than what this particular family was saying that she was paying for the exact same apartment right in that same city back in 2018. So, on the one side, it's like, you feel bad for the residents that got their rent increased so drastically, so quickly. But at the same time, it's like, well, the other side of the coin is, okay, well, if you receive a pension, if you receive your Social Security benefits, SSI, SSDI, you want to continue to be able to receive it. Can you imagine if your Social Security check didn't come in next month? Well, that would be a problem. And it would be just as much of a problem for anyone who's living off of a pension. If that pension direct deposit income doesn't hit your bank account on time as expected, there's a big problem. And, well, these hedge funds, these real estate investment firms that are managing these pension funds that are looking for the return, they need the profits. They need to make enough profit to be able to pay these retired people off every single month. So it's like, on the one hand, it's like you want to make sure you get your Social Security check, your monthly income. But on the other side, it's like, okay, well, where's this income coming from? Well, in this case, it's coming from the families that saw their rent increase by 50%. So, I mean, and this is real stuff, folks. This is real stuff. According to the materials for a boot camp for aspiring mobile home park investors prepared by Mobile Home University, which is run by two of the largest mobile home park owners in the country, the fact that tenants can't afford the $5,000 it costs to move a mobile home keeps revenue stable, and it makes it easy to raise rents without losing occupancy. I hope you guys understood what I just said. And if you didn't, I'm gonna go ahead and read this back to you. This is exactly what I'm talking about, folks. According to materials for a boot camp for aspiring mobile home park investors prepared for by Mobile Home University, which is run by by two of the largest mobile home park owners in the country. Now, let me just break this down for you so you understand what's happening. This is a boot camp. These are materials for a boot camp, meaning this is for aspiring mobile home park investors, meaning people like me and you who might want to invest in mobile home parks, similar to how the original owners did before this big real estate entrepreneur investor company came in and bought it out from them. This park was originally owned by a couple, probably a married couple. So they invested in land back in the day. Then people who own mobile homes needed a place to put their mobile home, so they rented the land from this couple. And so this couple generated passive income for likely decades, probably, right? Passive income every single month. It's a great source of income, and they treated the residents well. They didn't raise the rents too aggressively on them, and everyone was happy. The people who owned the land, they got a consistent passive income check from all of the people who had mobile homes on their land. And the people who lived there, who were paying the rent to stay on that land, they were comfortable because it was something that they could afford. Well, this is a great form of investing in real estate. And this is what they did. But this boot camp is teaching others how to do the same. It's teaching other people. This is literally, it's saying for aspiring mobile home park investors. They're giving this information out, right? And so they said, and this is how they're taking advantage of low income Americans or Americans with little to no assets. They literally said here that the fact that the tenant cannot afford the $5,000 that it costs to move a mobile home keeps the revenue stable, and it makes it very easy to raise rents without losing any occupancy. I hope you guys understand what's happening. They're saying that the fact that the tenants cannot afford the $5,000 to just move their mobile home somewhere else, it makes it very easy for them to continuously raise rents because, well, what are they going to do? The families have to pay more money or just be evicted, forced off the land because they know that the people who live there don't have the money to move the home. They don't have the $5,000 that it costs to move a mobile home. And so this is what we have to be aware of, which is coming down the pipeline. More and more hedge funds. And, I know how a lot of people feel about investment brokerages, investment companies like BlackRock and many other hedge funds and, different companies that are purchasing real estate that is affecting the cost that renters pay. But this is what we're talking about here, folks, and there's nothing against BlackRock. They're just another business that's trying to generate profits. But Americans with no assets are being decimated in this new economy. And this is just another example. We're going to see more of this. These are not isolated incidences. So if you're not if you're seeing this where you live, let me know. If you know someone else going through this, let me know. Share this video. Get the word out. Drop a like for the video. I really appreciate that. But the key here is you got a couple options. You could stay getting screwed, watching all your expenses go up left and right, grocery expenses, gas prices going up, inflation. You can wait on the Fed. You can wait on the Fed to come to the rescue if you believe that Fed Chair Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve is going to fix your life. You can wait on stimulus checks if you want. That's your call. Or you could take action. Stand up for yourself, stand up for your family, and create ways to increase your income so that you have choices. It's not about being rich. It's not about being a billionaire. I wouldn't even want to be a billionaire. But the simple fact of the matter is the more money you have, the more options you have. If these people had $15,000, $20,000 sitting in their emergency fund in their bank account, in their high yield savings account, they could have afforded to move their mobile home park to somewhere else and possibly even purchase their own land so that they don't ever have to worry about this problem, right? But the minute you have real estate, the minute you have when you don't own the land that your property sits on, you're at risk. And it may never be a problem for you. But then you may have circumstances where this does become an immediate problem. So drop me some comments down below, guys. Let me know what you guys are thinking. If you want to join the Patreon family, we're a community. We're a family of like-minded individuals building businesses, starting, beginners investing in the stock market for the very first time, beginners investing in real estate for the very first time, creating businesses with the intent to make money so that you can increase your income and not be limited to whatever the government decides to send you in the form of a Social Security check or a stimulus check. So, like I said, folks, I'm going to continue to bring you more and more information as new information develops. And we're going to keep an eye on more issues that are coming up that could be affecting more of us, and in 2023, right around the corner. It's going to be some big changes, folks. Hope you guys are ready for it. I wish you guys the best. Subscribe if you haven't already. Drop a like, and I'll see you on the next video.